What happens when a beloved late-night host comes face-to-face with royalty gone rogue? In just 32 seconds, one comment would shatter the civility of an interview and lead to the most shocking exit in talk show history. The studio lights were hot that night. Jon Stewart sat behind his desk, that familiar smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Across from him, Prince Harry adjusted his jacket, looking every bit the part of someone who expected the world to bend to his will. Stewart leaned forward, hands clasped. "So, thanks for being here. I know you've got a lot going on." Harry nodded, but there was something cold in his eyes. "Well, I make time for the important things." Stewart smiled, trying to establish rapport. "We appreciate that. Your schedule must be pretty packed." "You have no idea," Harry said flatly. "But someone has to do the real work, I suppose." The comment hung in the air for a beat. Stewart's smile didn't falter. "Right. So let's talk about your new project. You've been speaking a lot about privacy lately, which I find interesting given the very public way you've been speaking about it." Harry's jaw tightened. "Privacy is a human right, Jon. Something you Americans seem to forget." Stewart tilted his head slightly. "Americans? That's painting with a pretty broad brush, don't you think?" "Is it?" Harry leaned back, crossing his legs. "Look at your media. Look at your culture. Everything's for sale. Everyone's desperate for their 15 minutes. "Some people, sure," Stewart acknowledged. "But I think most people just want to live their lives without being bothered." Harry made a dismissive sound. "Most people don't have lives worth protecting." "Not really. Not like mine." The audience stirred uncomfortably. Stewart's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Lives worth protecting? I'm not sure I follow." Harry waved a hand. "Of course you don't. How could you? You've never had to deal with real scrutiny. Real pressure. You stand up here and tell jokes." Stewart's expression remained neutral, but you could see something shift in his eyes. "I tell jokes, sure, but I also interview people. Have conversations. Try to understand different perspectives." "Perspectives," Harry scoffed. "You mean you try to trap people? Get them to say something you can mock later. It's what you do." "Is that what you think this is?" Stewart asked, genuinely curious now. "A trap? Isn't it?" Harry shot back. "You invite people on, you act friendly, and then you go for the throat. I've watched your show. I know how this works." Stewart sat back, studying his guest. "You seem pretty defensive for someone who hasn't even been asked a hard question yet." "I'm not defensive," Harry snapped. "I'm just not naive. I know what you're trying to do." "What am I trying to do?" "Make me look bad. Get a viral moment. Boost your ratings." Harry's voice was getting sharper with each word. "You need me more than I need you, Jon. Let's be honest about that." Stewart paused, choosing his words carefully. "I invited you here because I thought you had something interesting to say. Was I wrong?" "You invited me here because you're desperate," Harry said. "Your show is dying. Late night is dying. You're all dinosaurs scrambling for relevance." The crew exchanged glances behind the cameras. This was spiraling fast. Stewart kept his voice even. "My show is doing fine, actually, but I appreciate your concern for my career." "Do you?" Harry leaned forward, eyes flashing. "Because it seems like you're the one who should be concerned. How much longer do you think people are going to care what you have to say?" "About as long as they care what you have to say," Stewart replied calmly. "Maybe longer, since I don't spend my time insulting people who are trying to have a conversation with me." Harry's face flushed. "There you go. See? You can't help yourself. You have to get your little dig in." "That wasn't a dig," Stewart said. "That was an observation. You've been hostile since you sat down. I'm trying to figure out why." "Because I'm tired," Harry said, his voice rising. "Tired of people like you. Tired of being treated like a performing monkey. Tired of pretending that any of this matters." Stewart nodded slowly. "Okay, so why are you here?" What? If you're so tired of it, if it doesn't matter, if I'm so terrible, why did you agree to come on the show? Harry opened his mouth, then closed it. For a second, he looked caught off guard. Then the anger returned. Because my team said it would be good for the brand. Happy? Your brand, Stewart repeated. Right, the privacy brand, where you do interviews about how much you hate interviews. You think you're so clever, Harry said. You think you've got me figured out, but you don't know anything about me, about what I've been through. You're right, Stewart agreed. I don't. That's why I'm asking questions. But instead of answering them, you're attacking me. I'm not attacking you, Harry protested. I'm being honest. Something you clearly can't handle. Stewart's smile was thin now. I can handle honesty just fine. What I'm having trouble with is the disrespect. Disrespect? Harry laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about disrespect? Do you know what it's like to have your entire life dissected? Every choice questioned? Every mistake amplified? Actually, Stewart said quietly, I do. I've been on television for decades. Every word I say gets analyzed. Every joke gets picked apart. So yeah, I have some idea. That's different, Harry cut in, his voice sharp. You chose this. I was born into it. I didn't have a choice. Fair point, Stewart conceded. But you're choosing to stay in the spotlight now. Nobody's forcing you to write books or do interviews. You don't understand, Harry insisted. I have to control the narrative. If I don't tell my story, someone else will. Or, Stewart suggested gently, you could just live your life. Let the work speak for itself. Harry's eyes narrowed. Easy for you to say. You're just a comedian. Nobody cares about your personal life. The audience went quiet. You could feel the temperature in the room drop. Stewart paused, letting the comment sit. Just a comedian. Okay. Well, this comedian has been doing this job for over 2 decades. Built a career from nothing. No family connections, no trust fund. Just work. Oh, here we go, Harry said, waving his hand dismissively. The self-made man speech. The American dream. How original. How predictable. Stewart's jaw tightened. I wasn't trying to be original. I was trying to point out that success comes in different forms. Does it? Harry's voice dripped with condescension. Because from where I'm sitting, your success looks pretty small compared to actual significance. Stewart sat back, taking a breath. Actual significance. And what would that be? Changing the world, Harry said. Making a real difference. Not just making people laugh for an hour before they go to bed. Making people laugh is valuable, Stewart said quietly. Giving people a break from their problems. Helping them think about things differently. That matters to me. Harry snorted. Of course it does, because it's all you have. The crew was frozen now. Nobody had ever seen an interview go this far south this fast. Stewart's voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath. You know what? I think we need to take a step back here. Why? Harry challenged. Because you can't handle someone who actually pushes back. Someone who doesn't worship at your altar. I see through you, Jon. I see through all of you. All of us. The media. The entertainment industry. The whole corrupt system. You pretend to be different. You pretend to care. But you're all the same. Parasites feeding off other people's lives. Stewart leaned forward. That's a pretty harsh way to describe people who are just trying to do their jobs. Is it? Harry was heating up now, his face reddening. Because I think it's accurate. I think you know it's accurate. You just don't like hearing it. I don't mind hearing it, Stewart said. I mind the way you're saying it. With contempt. With arrogance. Like you're somehow above everyone else in this room. Harry stood up suddenly, yanking at his microphone. Maybe I am above you. Have you considered that? Maybe I actually have accomplished things that matter. Stewart stood too, but his movements were measured. Sit down. Don't tell me what to do, Harry snapped. This is my show, Stewart said, his voice firm but controlled. And right now, I'm asking you, as a courtesy, to sit down so we can try to salvage this conversation. Harry laughed bitterly. Salvage it? There's nothing to salvage. You wanted a confrontation. Well, congratulations. You got one. I wanted a conversation, Stewart corrected. You're the one who came here. Looking for a fight. Are you? Harry's voice rose. Or are you trying to make me look bad? That's what you people do, isn't it? Tear down anyone who's actually important. The crew behind the cameras exchanged glances. This was going off the rails fast. Stewart kept his composure, that veteran broadcaster instinct kicking in. I think you might be projecting a little bit. Nobody's trying to tear you down. I'm asking you questions. Loaded questions, Harry shot back. Questions designed to make me defensive. I've dealt with your type my whole life. The press, the tabloids, now talk show hosts. You're all the same. My type, Stewart repeated slowly. And what type is that exactly? Harry leaned forward, pointing a finger. People who make a living off other people's pain, off their struggles. You sit here in your comfortable chair and you judge people. You mock them. You think you're better than everyone else. Stewart's face remained calm, but you could see the muscles in his jaw working. That's a pretty big assumption about someone you just met. I don't need to know you, Harry said, his voice dripping with contempt. I can see exactly who you are. You're desperate for relevance. That's why you brought me on. You need me more than I need you. The audience was completely silent now. This wasn't the playful banter they'd come to expect. This was something else entirely. Stewart leaned forward, his voice quiet but firm. You know what? I invited you here as a guest. I treated you with respect. And you come on my show and insult me, insult my profession, insult my audience. Your audience? Harry laughed, but there was no humor in it. Please. These people worship you because you tell them what to think. You're no different than the monarchy you all claim to hate. You just wear jeans instead of a crown. Stewart's eyes narrowed. I think we need to take a break. Oh, what's wrong? Harry pressed, his voice mocking. Can't handle someone who actually pushes back? Someone who doesn't bow down to you? Nobody's asking you to bow, Stewart said, his patience clearly wearing thin. But basic respect isn't too much to ask. Harry stood up abruptly, yanking off his microphone. Respect? You want to talk about respect? You've spent your entire career disrespecting people. Politicians, celebrities, anyone who doesn't fit your narrow worldview. Stewart stood too, but his movements were controlled. That's my job. Satire, commentary. But I've never invited someone onto my show just to attack them personally. Because you're so noble, Harry spat. Please, you're just angry because I'm not playing along with your little game. I'm not some puppet you can manipulate for laughs. The producer was making throat-cutting motions from behind the camera. Cut to commercial. End this. But something kept the tape rolling. Stewart's voice was steady, but there was steel underneath. You know what? I think you should leave. Harry's face flushed red. Excuse me? You heard me, Stewart said. This is my show, and I'm asking you to leave. You can't kick me off, Harry said, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes now. Actually, I can, Stewart replied, and I am. You came here with an agenda. You wanted to pick a fight. Well, congratulations. You got one. But you don't get to stand on my stage and insult me, my crew, and my audience. Harry's mouth opened, then closed. For a moment, he looked like a child who'd been told no for the first time. This is unbelievable. Do you know who I am? Yeah, Stewart said simply. You're a guest who's overstayed his welcome. The color drained from Harry's face, then rushed back even redder. You're going to regret this. Do you have any idea what kind of influence I have? What I could do to your career? Stewart actually smiled at that, but it wasn't a friendly smile. Are you seriously threatening me right now? On camera? I'm telling you facts, Harry said, but his voice was shaking now. People listen to me. I have a platform. A real platform. Not this late-night garbage. Then go use it, Stewart said, gesturing toward the exit. The door's right there. Harry looked around, as if expecting someone to come to his defense. The audience sat frozen. The crew avoided his eyes. He was alone. Harry struggled for words. This is an outrage. I was invited here. You can't just throw me out like common trash. You're not common trash, Stewart said. You're an entitled guest who forgot that respect goes both ways. Now please, leave. Harry's hands clenched into fists at his sides. You know what? Fine. I don't need this. I don't need you. I came here as a favor, and this is how you treat me. A favor? Stewart's eyebrows shot up. You came here to promote your book. Let's not pretend this was charity work. At least I've done something with my life, Harry shot back. What have you done? Made people laugh? Big deal. I've actually tried to make a difference in the world. Stewart nodded slowly. And I'm sure your PR team is really proud of how you're making a difference right now. That hit home. Harry's face contorted with rage. How dare you? How dare you speak to me that way? The same way you've been speaking to me for the last 10 minutes? Stewart asked. Yeah, doesn't feel great, does it? Harry grabbed his jacket from the back of the chair, nearly knocking it over. You're going to hear from my people about this. This isn't over. Your people, Stewart repeated. Right. Well, when you talk to your people, maybe ask them why they thought this would be a good idea. Harry turned to the audience, his voice rising. You should all be ashamed. Sitting here, applauding this bully. This is exactly what's wrong with America. The audience remained silent. No one applauded. No one booed. They just watched. Stewart's voice cut through the tension. You're still here. Harry whirled back around. What? I asked you to leave. You're still here, making speeches, trying to play the victim. Just go. I am a victim, Harry insisted, of the media, of people like you who twist everything. Nobody's twisting anything, Stewart said. We're live. Everyone just saw exactly what happened. You came here with an attitude. You insulted me repeatedly, and now you're angry that there are consequences. Harry's breathing was heavy now. Consequences? For what? For speaking the truth? For being rude, Stewart said simply. For being disrespectful. For acting like the world owes you something just because of who your grandmother was. That was the final straw. Harry's face went purple. Don't you dare bring my family into this. You brought yourself into this, Stewart countered. Every word out of your mouth has been about how special you are, how different, how much harder your life is than everyone else's. It is harder, Harry shouted. You have no idea what it's like. You're right, Stewart said, his voice calm again. I don't. But I know what it's like to work for a living, to earn respect instead of demanding it, to treat people with basic human decency, even when I disagree with them. Harry stood there, chest heaving, clearly trying to think of a comeback. Nothing came. Security, Stewart called out, not taking his eyes off Harry. Can you please escort our guest out? 2 security guards appeared from the wings. They didn't touch Harry, just stood there waiting. Harry looked at them, then back at Stewart. This is insane. You're insane. I'm really not, Stewart said. I'm just done with this conversation. You'll regret this, Harry said again, but the fire had gone out of his voice. Everyone will know how you treated me. Good, Stewart said. Let them know. Let them see the whole thing. I've got nothing to hide. Harry opened his mouth one more time, but nothing came out. He looked around the studio one last time, that same expression of disbelief on his face. Then, finally, he turned and walked toward the exit. But he couldn't resist one final shot. He stopped at the edge of the stage, turning back. You know what the saddest part is? You actually think you're the good guy here. Stewart met his eyes. And you think you're the victim. I guess we'll let everyone else decide. Harry's jaw clenched. Then he turned and walked off the stage, the security guards following at a discreet distance. The studio remained silent for a long moment. Stewart stood there, watching Harry disappear into the wings. Then he turned back to his desk, sitting down slowly. He looked directly into the camera, his expression serious. Well, that happened. The audience erupted. Applause, cheers, a few gasps. Stewart held up his hands. I want to be clear about something, he said, waiting for the noise to die down. I don't enjoy that. I didn't want that to happen. I expected a conversation. Maybe some disagreement. That's fine. But what you just saw? That wasn't a debate. That was someone who came here looking for a fight. He paused, shaking his head. I've had guests who disagreed with me. Guests who challenged me. And I've loved those conversations. But that was someone who thought his title meant he could talk down to everyone here. And that's not how this works. The audience applauded again. Stewart waited. Respect isn't automatic. It's not something you get just because of who you are. It's something you earn. And it's something you give. And when someone shows you repeatedly that they have no interest in that basic respect, sometimes you have to show them the door. He set his notes aside. We had a whole show planned, but I think we all need a minute to process what just happened. Because here's what I believe. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. But dignity is a two-way street. Stewart crossed his arms. That guy came here tonight with a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to prove something. But whatever it was, he chose the wrong way to do it. Because respect can't be forced. You can't demand it. You can't threaten people into giving it to you. You earn it through your actions. He paused, letting that sink in. Tonight, when things got difficult, he showed us exactly who he is. Not a prince. Just a guy who thinks the rules don't apply to him. Stewart walked back to his desk. So yeah, I kicked him off my show, and I'd do it again. Because this might be just a comedy show, but it's my show. And people who come here are going to be treated with respect. And they're going to show respect in return. That's the deal. He looked up, a slight smile returning. Now, I'm sure the internet is going to have a field day with this, and that's fine. But for those of you here, those watching at home, you deserve to be treated well. You deserve environments where respect is mutual, and you never have to tolerate someone treating you like you're less than them. The audience started to applaud, but Stewart held up a hand. And if you're ever in a situation where someone is talking down to you, you have every right to say enough. Life's too short to let people treat you badly, even if that person is technically royalty, especially if that person is technically royalty. The audience laughed, the mood shifting. Stewart nodded. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got another guest. Stick around. The cameras cut. Stewart sat back, running a hand through his hair. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by the weight of what had happened. But he'd stood his ground. He'd drawn the line. And everyone watching knew they'd witnessed something real, something unscripted, something that would be talked about for a long time. Because in that moment, a talk show host had reminded a prince that titles don't matter when you forget how to be decent, that crowns don't grant permission to look down on others, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to accept disrespect. The empty chair sat there, a silent reminder of what had transpired. A conversation that had gone so wrong, it became impossible to continue. Stewart looked at that chair for a moment. Then he turned to his producer. Let's get the next guest out here. The lights brightened. The audience settled. Stewart straightened his tie, ready to continue. Because that's what professionals do. They handle the chaos, deal with difficult moments, and get back to work. And somewhere, Harry was leaving the building, probably still convinced he'd been wronged, still certain he was the victim, unable to see that his own behavior had created the situation he'd found so offensive. But the cameras had captured it all. The insults, the condescension, the moment when a guest forgot that being royal doesn't make you right. And the moment when a host remembered that respect is earned, not inherited. The show went on. It always does. But this night would be remembered. Not as chaos, but as clarity. When someone finally said enough. When a prince learned that respect comes from how you treat people, not from a title you were born with.